On this episode, Dude and Brett discuss Jim Beam Distillery while drinking their favorites from that brand. So sit back, grab a pour, kick up your feet, and enjoy this episode of The Bourbon Hunters.
Gather round the mic, it's time to unwind. Drinking our bottles, all that we find. With tastings and tales, we're sharing our pours. Tune in each week, there will always be more. Tune in each week, there's lots to hear. Laughter and stories, we're all here to share. We're giving our ratings, they're always fair. Sit back, grab a pour, kick up your feet and enjoy.
While you're listening, head over to our website at bourbonhunters.com where you can purchase Bourbon Hunters glassware and products, and sign up for our Patreon, which puts you on the list for single barrel announcements from our private barrel club.
Tune in each week, sit back. Tune in each week, grab a pour. Tune in each week, kick up your feet and enjoy. Kick up your feet and enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of The Bourbon Hunters. I am Dude Poole, and I am joined by
Brett Bryan.
And we are solo duo.
Tyler's favorite solo dolo.
Yeah, I don't know.
Solo duo that's all right.
Something.
It works.
I don't know. Whatever. So tonight we are going to just kind of relax, drink a little bit of Jim Beam products, and talk about Jim Beam and the distillery and our experience with that distillery, and just I don't know, whatever else comes up, I guess.
Just let it organically happen.
Yeah. Speaking of organically happening, you went to Boston last week, right?
I did.
How was that?
So that was my first time in Boston.
Oh, that was your first time ever?
First time, yep.
Okay.
Yep. For whatever reason, I've not been to the Northeast a lot for some reason. I feel like I'm fairly well traveled, not as much as, many other people, but I loved Boston.
Was this work or was this?
Just for fun.
Okay.
Kind of a long story how a group of us ended up there, but regardless, a group of people, we all met up there. It was great. So the first night we went to Fenway Park, and the Guardians, formerly known as the Indians, they were playing the Red Sox.
Good use of the air quotes.
Yes. Our listeners can't see the air quotes, but you can imagine. And so, obviously first time in Boston, first time in Fenway. It's really cool to think, I guess I had forgotten that ballpark was built in, I think, 1901 or 02.
Yeah, it's an old one.
It's one of...
And they had to kind of shoehorn it into the city,
right? And which
is why the Green Monsters.
Exactly. And so it's kind of neat to think that, like, wow, Ted Williams played in this park, right? Like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I love too that, so where the big green monster is, and you have all your your stats there, your hits, your runs, all that stuff, outs, strikes, all of that on that board down there. There's someone back there still, like, manually changing out, like, the little placards, right?
I think the Cubs do the same thing still.
Oh, do they? I didn't realize the Cubs did it.
I think so.
And so, of course, they have some digital signs as well. But,
yeah.
But the fact that they have those.
That traditional old one, yeah.
To me, I thought that was so neat. And we had seats in the outfield. They have this thing that's, it's kind of up high in these little tables that you can see in the outfield.
Yeah.
And, even though it's in the outfield and you can't see, the pitches and whatnot as well, it was just a really fun experience. It's like the Sam Adams is what they call it, because it's all sponsored by Sam Adams Brewery.
I don't mind sitting in the outfield a lot of times. Now, my favorite place to sit generally is behind the catchers, behind the home plate. Short of that, I like to be on the field, third or first baseline, one or the other. But I don't mind being in the outfield. I sat in the outfield for a Cubs game, for Indians or Guardians games, Indians at the time, the Reds, Braves, so I don't mind sitting in the outfield. That doesn't bother me so much. But you're right, though. That's the one thing you miss is kind of like the pitching, like you see it, but it's from such a distance that you're not really getting, the feel of the pitching like you would when you're closer.
And some of the close plays, right, when someone's being, tagged out or thrown out.
Right.
But
now, a lot of the places have the Jumbotron
and they
replays
did
now, but so you can at least watch the replay to see how close it was, but yeah.
And then it was also kind of fun that, Cleveland was expected to lose the game, and it's like, whatever. They ended up winning 8-1, which is fantastic.
I mean, that's baseball.
Yeah.
They might lose 2 out of 3 in a series, but the one they win in convincing fashion.
Yeah. I just love that I was there to see Cleveland win. That's what made, and I had an older Chief Wahoo shirt that I wore.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, no one knew what it was. It was hilarious. There were so many people that asked me about that shirt.
Really?
And they were like, are you an Atlanta Braves fan? I'm like, no. And then they were it was just amazing how many people.
That's funny.
Because, obviously Chief Wahoo has been retired. But it was so funny, just again, how many people had asked about that. And
that is interesting. I mean, and it makes you, for me, it makes me sad. Because we're already only a few years away from being the Indians, for people to lose sight of what that was all about to begin with. Because, whether you were offended by the mascot or not, the origination of the mascot was not meant to be offensive.
Yeah, I told this story.
It was supposed to be more of an homage to, I think, what was it, the first Major League Baseball player that was Native American, I think.
Yeah, Cleveland had the first Native American baseball player, and it was kind of to honor him. I think they may even have the first two, if my memory's right. Please fact check me if I'm wrong, but it was, again, to kind of honor.
So, but what's going to happen now that they're the Guardians is that part of it might be
lost,
forgotten in history with the newer generations of baseball fans and things like that. So that part of it makes me a little sad, because even like, for example, the Washington Redskins and the Washington Commanders, whatever. A lot of times I feel like nowadays, these teams, I guess they separate themselves so far from these things that try to act like it never happened. Mm-hmm. And then they lose a bit of their identity. And distancing yourself from something like that and then acting like it never happened, I think, are two different things. And I think acting like something never happened is not the right way to go.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you embrace that, and then you also embrace, if you're trying to be progressive and you're trying to show, hey, we're recognizing that maybe this was offensive and blah, 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 you still should embrace your past, and you should still embrace the steps you took to get there.
Yeah, and you can learn from your mistakes, right? And so you have to, recognize those things if you want to learn from your mistakes. So that was enough about that part. But
no, I think that's cool.
Overall, it was a great city. We did the Freedom Trail, which was neat,
cool,
because there was a lot of history there. To see where Paul Revere was buried.
Yeah.
Some of the churches there are just insanely old. To go to where the Boston Massacre happened. Yeah. I'm kind of a history weirdo. I like a lot of that stuff. I do too. But that was all. You know what I mean? It was a great, great city. I would go back. You know what I mean? I would go back anytime. We had went to a really fun F1 arcade.
Okay.
And so it's a bunch of these F1 simulators, and I guess they're like hyper realistic. You know what I mean? It's not like you're in Dave and Buster's in an arcade machine. It's like, what is that, Cruisin' USA or whatever the old one was. But it was really neat. It was very immersive. It had this surround sound, and all four corners were on these what I want to call them, almost like accelerometer things.
Yeah.
They would move and shake and move you all around.
And
so that was really fun. And it was neat because...
Did it feel pretty real?
It did. Yeah, it felt very realistic. And, you paid a flat rate per hour, and then you would have teams, and you could race it as much as you wanted, where it's not like you're shoving, dollar bills into a machine. You just kind of pay up front.
That's pretty cool.
It was like, if you could imagine Topgolf with a simulator, it reminded me of that in a way.
It's like a golf simulator. Probably more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's funny is I've been to Boston a million times, and I've never, ever done anything historical there.
Oh, you should. There's so much.
I was always there for work, and I feel
That's
like,
fair.
And so many people are like, oh, you get to travel for work, but unless you go a day early or stay a day longer,
agree,
you don't get to experience the city. You're there from 8 to 5 working throughout the day, and then at 5 o'clock you're done.
You're exhausted, and you just want to get something to eat.
And even if you're not exhausted, what are you going to do in a couple of hours to really experience the city besides maybe their nightlife or their food life or something like that, like restaurants and stuff like that? That's really the best you're going to get out of it. I mean, you're not going to get to go experience a tour. Most of those places are closed down by then. And something historical, the best I've ever done, and I wouldn't call it historical, but it is kind of, is I was in Philadelphia for work, and a buddy of mine lived in Philadelphia at the time, and he's like, hey, we should get together, do some lunch. So we got together, ate some lunch, and then afterwards we went to this, it was a museum of pathology.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, it was freaky as shit.
I'm sure.
And it was so cool, but it was old school pathology.
Yeah.
So it was like, the times when they're leeching people. You know, so it had pictures of that. It had some of the tools that were in use. It had some of the old bones of things of people that had died that had some sort of bad prognosis or something like that. It was really neat.
Yeah.
It was really
That's
neat.
very cool.
But I think this is a good segue into history, like Jim Beam. Like,
Yeah.
right? It's a very, very historical distillery. What do we have in the glass to start with here?
So we have Knob Creek. This is going to be a non-age statement.
Well, it's at least 12 years, right? Does it not say 12 on the side? Side?
I don't think this one's a 12-year.
Oh, shit.
This is a single barrel select from Bourbon Enthusiast.
They used to always say 12 years on the side.
This looks like it's 9 years old is what it is based
Okay.
on my reading there. 120 proof. It is, it's actually about 8.5 years old is what it is for this.
All right, cool.
So I didn't realize this was a single barrel select when we grabbed it from the shelf, but these are always good.
I love Knob Creeks. I don't know why I never go to them. Whenever I start drinking them, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about this, and then I'll kill a bottle. I had like 10 bottles of this stuff, not this particular barrel,
Select, yeah.
but I had a whole bunch of them. I had one from Bourbon on Main, I think is what it was called. It's in Frankfurt. They had their own barrel pick, and I went there for lunch and had some, and I was like, "Ooh!" And they're like, "Oh, we have the bottle for sale." I was like, "Oh," and it was probably my favorite Knob Creek single barrel I've ever had, and I was so disappointed I didn't buy more than one. This Bourbon Enthusiast one, if I remember correctly, is pretty good, but it's been a while since I've had it. But every time I get a Knob Creek single barrel, they're always good. Like, I'm always like, oh, wow, yeah, I forgot about this.
The 12 year is one of my favorites. It's hard for me to turn one of those down when I see it.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. So let's talk a little bit about the history of Beam, and then we'll talk about, like, our experience there with Beam as well. So while I'm doing that, get a little bit of nose here, and then we'll talk about that right after this first part. So
the nose is really rich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It comes off very rich.
I feel like Knob Creek always is. So 1795. We've got Jacob Beam. He began distilling corn whiskey in Kentucky, and he was using his abundant local corn, as you always hear in the stories, to create his first batch, which he sold as Old Jake Beam Sour Mash. So that's kind of when it got its start, 1795. You think about bourbon, you think about some of the things that if you listen to any of the bourbon briefs and things like that, we talk about medicinal whiskey recently. And Beam, through the, I guess, what was, I think, National Distillers or something like that, brand. I'll have to remember that. But they're owned by Suntory now. But back in the day, it was Old Jake Beam Sour Mash. And then early 1900s, I think, is when they had their old tub. And that was actually what the business was called back then. And it was one of the country's first national bourbon brands was Old Tub back then.
Which they re-released the Old Tub. They kind of did that. It's not an anniversary release, but just kind of like an homage release that they did of Old Tub.
Yeah. Now in Prohibition, Beam, they didn't go out of business, but they were forced to do other things, like quarrying and different things like that to stay in business until after Prohibition. So I guess days after the 21st Amendment repealed Prohibition, Jim Beam, then in his 60s at that time, rebuilt the distillery in Claremont, Kentucky, within 120 days. I mean, think about that. We talk about things being built nowadays, right? Do you think that something would be built in a third of a year nowadays, like a distillery?
No.
Right? It would take longer, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would think so.
Even though we have better technology and maybe it's just better rules and regulations now too.
With inspections and all that stuff.
But you also have to have the running water and all those things that maybe they didn't have back then. Who knows? I mean, I don't know in the 1920s how prevalent running water was, especially in Kentucky. But that's just crazy to me, right? So it wasn't until 1943 that they changed the name to Jim Beam Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. And that was just in honor of James B. Beam's leadership and successful relaunch of the business, after Prohibition. So 1943, it became what we know it as today. And along the way, obviously, they have added brands. They have added, logos and things like that. Probably some through acquisition, some through just, launching of new brands and stuff like that. But let's go ahead and dive into this Jim Beam here, this Knob Creek.
Now that first one's a little hot for me. I won't lie.
120 proof.
120 proof.
We came from 100 before this. So
Yeah.
it is a little bit of a bump in proof, which is interesting because we're going to go down in proof by the time we're done with this. But, yeah, I mean, I feel like it is a little bit hotter, but I feel like there's a lot going on there. This isn't like just a heat for heat's sake type of 120. This is a 120 that I just wasn't ready for. But as it's in my, as it was in my mouth, I could just tell there's some flavors.
There was something on the back end that it was overpowered by ethanol, but it was also...
I got like a dusty peanut type of finish.
I got some kind of like toffee note or something in the back. I want to come back and sip it again because I was like, I got this little hint of like a toffee. And it was almost like, this sounds weird, but when I was in Hawaii, I had these macadamia nuts that were covered in toffee.
Yeah.
And it was like maybe like caramel toffee, but it kind of reminded me of that. So it's like a nutty but like toffee combination.
Okay.
And it just reminded me of that, but the ethanol kind of overpowered it for a second.
So here is a trivia question. I'm not going to answer it right away, and I don't want you to look it up.
Okay.
But Jim Beam's middle name, or James Beam's middle name, started with a B. Do you know what that B stood for?
I mean, I want to say Booker, but like I know that's likely not correct, but that's where I first go. Is
that's
Booker.
A good guess.
Yeah. I mean, I know Booker, no, but it's like,
Booker,
is there?
No, but yeah.
But is there some kind of
after
exactly?
Booker Beam.
Yeah, that's like a family thing that people do.
It is not, but that is a decent guess. I would say without knowing anything, to actually not just say some name like Beatrice or something,
Benjamin.
You actually made an educated guess. I feel like based off of the brand, that's not bad. Okay.
Second drink, way better.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. That visceral reaction gone. Doesn't taste nearly as hot this time. There's heat there. Don't get me wrong, but it's definitely more palatable this time than the first time. The first sip. I think I'm getting a little bit about that toffee kind of note you're talking about.
At the end, it's like at the end of it. The finish.
It starts off a little sweet through the front and middle of the tongue, and then that toffee kind of. Does help you finish off the taste as it goes down the throat and hits the back of the tongue. So it was 2014 when Suntory, who owns Beam now, purchased the Beam company, and they bought it from Fortune Brands. I don't know when Fortune Brands took ownership, but Suntory, which is a Japanese company, they purchased it in 2014, and they are continuing the Beam legacy of bourbon making, as they say.
There's probably so many people that don't realize like the presence of like the Japanese in the bourbon world. You know what I mean? They kind of what kept it alive in the 80s, from what I understand.
Yeah, and if you like Blanton's, Japanese companies owns Blanton's.
Yeah.
I mean, they own Blanton's, and it's an American distribution company that distributes it here in America, but it's owned by Blanton's. It's technically contract distilled by Buffalo Trace. All right, so cool. Let's get a little bit more into the history here, and then we'll move on to the next drink and then start talking about our own experience there. 1820. Jacob's son, David Beam, took over the distillery at the age of 18. Could you imagine?
Being given a distillery at 18?
Like, just taking over the family business at 18. I mean, that's just crazy to me. But when he did, he expanded the production. He really leaned into, like, the industrialization and all that stuff. Started using column stills as opposed to pot stills. And then in 1854...
To have a business mind at that age, too. Think about that.
I mean, I'm sure if you're raised around it and you see, think about this. When you were a kid, you wanted to do things the new way, right? Like you wanted, the new way is the best way. You don't think about tradition as much as a kid at 16, 17. So when you take over at 18, you probably do want to do some progressive things and change and
that's fair.
Become more advanced. So it kind of makes sense in my opinion. I remember how I was at 18. My parents didn't know what the hell they were talking about. They didn't know. Their life that they lived didn't amount to anything as far as wisdom is concerned. I knew it all. You know what I mean? Like,
I know that feeling.
So 1854, same man, David Beam, His son inherited the business, rebranded the whiskey as Beam's Old Tub. So, they lost the moniker of Beam around the turn of the century, it sounds like, but it became Beam's Old Tub, and they relocated the distillery closer to the railroad so that they could have better distribution. And that's probably how they became more of a national brand, I would imagine. But anyway, so that's basically it. Now back to that trivia question, the Aflac trivia question. The B, James Beauregard Beam.
Oh, man. You couldn't even guess that
Booker
one.
was a good
Booker's a good guess. Yeah.
That was a good guess.
Yeah. So I know, bourbon. I've said this before in other
It
episodes.
would have been funny if his middle name was Bourbon.
Bourbon, yeah.
And neither of us thought.
Yeah.
Of it,
and I've said before, Maker's Mark was the thing in college with bourbon, and my first introduction to it. We had one guy. He was from Ironton, Ohio. If anyone knows where that is.
Oh yeah, played them in
football. They usually have a stout football team.
Yeah, and also I think track. We always went to that track. They had a track invitational every year.
Okay.
That we went to.
But a friend of mine, he was in my fraternity. He was from Ironton. He was always a Knob Creek guy. And when it would be homecoming or something, he'd be like, guys, I brought Knob Creek. You know what I mean? And it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was at the time. You know what I mean? I didn't even know it was a Jim Beam product.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know what this creek is, but it's pretty good.
This creek.
I
don't know what this creek is. For me, a creek was the noise the floor made when you stepped on it.
Yeah. I've never heard anyone say Knob Creek.
Knob Creek.
We called it Knob Creek, but growing up, we did say crick because they'd always be like, if you say crick, you're a hick. That was always the thing.
That's how, I grew up in southeastern Ohio, so you were in southern Ohio. I was in southeastern Ohio, so yeah, we both said crick. All right, so what's your takeaway from the Knob Creek? We talked about it. We both like it. You like their 100 proof.
Their 12 years was my favorite.
Right?
Their 12 year is my favorite.
And that's 100 proof, right?
It is, yes.
And then they have a 9-year that's 120, right? That's a shelfer, I think. They have the quarter oak. They have a whole bunch of different Knob Creek releases, basically. I've got a few of them back there. They have Knob Creek 15, Knob Creek 18, right?
Which was funny. We had the 15.
Didn't like it.
We had the 18 and loved
really
it.
Liked
yeah.
And usually it's the other way around. The more oaked it gets, sometimes it's just it's like drying your tongue out. But yeah, I agree with you on that completely. That was my take as well. So what would you take away from this Knob Creek? I like it. I think this is, for me, I would say, indicative of what you would expect from a Knob Creek. It's traditional Knob Creek. This isn't too crazy because it is a barrel pick. It isn't too crazy from a divergence from what you would expect from a Knob Creek, shelf.
Not off profile.
Yeah, exactly. But it does have some amplified things to it that I think are nice. And that's generally what I look for in a single barrel anyway, is I want it to be on profile, but have something amplified from that profile that I like. A lot of people that I know like to go and buy something that's a barrel of something that's off profile. And I'm like, why do you want that? You're wanting the barrel pick of something that is that something. Why would you want it to taste like something else?
Yeah, I want the things that I like amplified.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But what I'm saying though is, why would you want to go take a Knob Creek barrel pick that tastes like something else?
Right, I agree.
You wanted to do the Knob Creek barrel pick, so and the exception to that for me would be, yes, it's off profile, but it tastes so damn good. It's amazing, and we couldn't pass it up. That I could understand. But I'm not going to go look for an off profile barrel pick, which I feel like a lot of people do.
Agree.
When I buy a barrel pick from someone, if it's off profile, I want them to say it's off profile, and I want them to tell me why they chose it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If it's a Knob Creek barrel pick, I want it to taste like a Knob Creek barrel pick. I don't want it to taste like something else. And they've got to really convince me why off profile is the way to go with this one for me to buy it.
Completely agree.
So that's my feelings. That's my TED Talk. All right. So let's move on. Let's go to what do we have? Pull out the Hardin Creek Boston over there and tell me what the proof is on that. Because I feel like we could do the Baker's 13 or the Hardin.
It's kind of funny you picked the Boston, but we didn't plan this because I was just in Boston. It was all kind of
I think I picked it because the last time we did a Mouth Experience Monday with one of these, I think I did the Frankfurt.
The proof you said?
Yes.
110.
Okay. And this is 107. So let's do that, and then we'll work our way slowly back to the 107 so it's not a big...
Okay.
So it's not a big, whatever. So we both like Knob Creek, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've had the Hardins Creek before. Do you remember liking, disliking? What do you remember?
I remember being pleasantly surprised.
What I love is the packaging, and I wish this was more of a... I know it's an LTO, and I wish it was more of a more frequent LTO. Because I love the packaging. I love that it comes in that little... It's a chintzy tin kind of container that holds it. But it's got some really cool decorative,
like the leather. I don't know, is that real leather? I mean, real leather, actually.
But even just a container, before we even get to that.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a neat decorative kind of design to it. But then once you pull the bottle out, it's a sturdy, squarish or whatever bottle. It kind of feels like something a little more antique. But then you've got a nice hefty cork. And then there's like a leather strap that holds the cork in place.
Is that supposed to...
It should rotate out of the way. You don't need to unsnap.
Yeah, that's what I was trying. It unsnaps? I just didn't know.
It does, but I don't think you need to.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I was trying to say.
I was just a little confused by it at first.
So, Hardins Creek for me is one of those ones that I've just always enjoyed. I have really, really enjoyed it. And the way that I understand Hardin Creek, and I'm doing this from memory, I'm not looking this up, so if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, whatever. The way I understand it is they took distillate and they took it to 3 different locations. They took that distillate, and they sent it to Boston, Kentucky, Claremont, Kentucky, and Frankfort, Kentucky to age. Just to see what the differences in aging would be at those different locations. So my understanding of Boston, Claremont, and Frankfurt are they're the same distillate, same age, same distilling period, usually. Now there's different batches, obviously, from year to year. But they are just aged at a different location. And then it's kind of an experiment, yet LTO, because you get all 3 of them and you can taste them side by side and be like, oh my gosh, they are actually different. And that, to me, that just blows my mind. We talk about this on other episodes, and there are some episodes where we break down the importance of location in the rick house and stuff like that. But it blows my mind that you can take the same distillate and A, put it in different parts of the rick house and get different products, and B, put it in different geographical locations and get different products.
Yeah, I immediately think about Wild Turkey and all the Camp Nelson stuff, that it's in a completely different spot and people, go nuts for the Camp Nelson.
And I mean, this isn't like different geographical locations, when speaking of latitude, we're talking about, maybe a degree difference in latitude.
Oh, yeah.
At most.
Right.
Between the 3 locations. So you're not talking about some crazy Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. You're talking about, 20 miles in either direction. It's like, it doesn't really add up to me to have that much of a difference in flavor change. But that's just what baffles my mind. Is that right?
Baffle. Yeah.
Okay. Baffles my mind. Is that a phrase, or did I just make that up?
No, I feel like I've heard that.
It baffles me that have that much variation between them when the source is all the same. I don't know. It just blows my mind. And it's a testament to bourbon in general when you talk about all the different mash bill possibilities. Anything above 51%, corn, you could have 51% corn, you could have 99% corn, and it be a bourbon. I mean, you have 51% corn, and then you could have 30% rye, 29% rye, 28% rye. So there's so many different variations of mash bill. Then you throw in the yeast strain. Then you throw in the geographic location, apparently, and the rickhouse location, apparently. And you've got so many,
And the wood in the barrel.
Yeah, you've got so many combinations now that you could end up with. just insane, right?
It's like, I know it's not truly infinite, but it almost feels like it's infinite.
To some degree, it kind of
Yeah.
is, because you just move it 5 feet over.
Yeah,
and you have
just keep moving it.
But like if you have sister barrels in a rick house, batched on the same day, or distilled on the same day, put into barrel on the same day, and they're 5 feet from each other,
and they taste different.
they can taste different.
Yeah,
and it's crazy to me.
and that's kind of like Jefferson's Ocean, their thing too, where they like take it on this tour through the ocean and all these different things they experience and pressures.
Some of it's gimmicky, but at the same time,
they
are
little...
experiencing different latitudes. They're experiencing different
like the sloshing and stuff of it.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I will say you can never speed up oxidation.
Yeah.
I mean, sloshing it might speed up some oxidation, maybe. I would maybe say that might be but like, for example, just putting it in Texas and having it interact with the wood more aggressively because it's hotter. Yes, it'll turn darker quicker, but it doesn't oxidize any faster down there. Sloshing it around, it might oxidize it because you're bubbling it up, you're letting it interact with the air more.
Yeah.
So that might speed up oxidation to some degree. That might be the exception to speeding up maturation. I don't know.
You know those like paint shakers they have in like Home Depot?
Yeah.
We should be an experiment. Where, like pick a barrel and just like shake the shit out of it.
Just take it to Home Depot, see if they'll throw it in there and shake it up
like
for
a
us.
little mini barrel. Yeah. Can I come back in about 2 days? Just leave it in here.
Just gonna let it shake for 2 days, man. Just take it in once a week. 5-minute shake. Take it home. 5-minute shake next week. No, but the color on this one is definitely darker than what we just had.
Agree.
I remember Hardin's Creek being very pleasant for me. I liked it a lot, but there was a nostalgic taste to it to me, and I don't know why. And it might have just been something I built up in my head.
When you say that, do you mean like a dusty taste when you say nostalgic?
Not necessarily, but it just kind of, how when JD takes us on his little
his journeys
with his memory and his combining, like growing up and combining his memory with his flavor profile to connect it to something that he had when he was a kid.
I wish the listeners could see his hands when he tells these stories.
Yeah.
He starts like air grasping at things, and he's like,
does.
"Oh, so this reminds me," and it's like reaching for things that aren't there.
His mother's grabbing like cornmeal off the shelf, and then flour off the shelf. And, I'm 100%. But there was something nostalgic about this. It wasn't dusty necessarily as it was nostalgic tasting. It reminded me of something of what and my best way to describe it is what I always thought bourbon should taste like. That, even though that's just a feeling. Yeah. It's not something I ever experienced, but whenever I started romanticizing the idea of bourbon, what I thought it should taste like, and then I tasted this, it kind of took me to that feeling. So I know that's kind of weird, but that's just how I always look at Hardin's Creek. And I've never seen Hardin's Creek since I've gotten these two. And
the distillery is the only place I've seen them.
Well, they were in Ohio here and there. Okay. And then they had a 3-pack that were like smaller bottles. You could buy them.
Oh, that would have been cool. I would have liked to have that just to be able to like sample.
Now that I've had them, I would have been upset if that's all the size I got,
That's fair.
But yeah, you're right. It's better than not getting them at all. But yeah, I remember really enjoying this. So let's nose this, and then let's talk about it, and then let's talk about our experience at Beam ourselves. Oh, wow. That nose is very rich.
That's what I was thinking. It's very full is what kind of what popped into my name. But it's not descriptive of a flavor. It's just very full.
But you're right. It is a very full flavor nose. But it's like super rich. There's like it's almost like my nose is on overload because there's so much going on. Here in your Kentucky Chew.
Sorry over there.
No, you're fine.
It's hitting me in all parts of the mouth.
Oh, man, this is good.
It's viscous.
Pisses me off every time I drink this because I know that I have less than half a bottle left, and I just want to keep drinking this.
Yeah. It hits me in the front of the tongue. It hits me in the sides of the tongue. That's why I didn't mean to Kentucky Chew. It was just kind of all over the place.
Listen, I know that's an annoying noise if you're listening at home, but generally we only do that when what you're just describing, where it's hitting it. We're trying to really get all of the flavor out of it, and because there's so much going on, you have to kind of Kentucky chew it to get some of those flavors out of it.
Yeah. There's almost some like light chocolate in here. It's not like a cacao darker chocolate, but there's a lighter, cacao. There's like a lighter chocolate in here. It's very enjoyable.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. Yeah, there's a cacao, there's a dusty kind of feeling to it, even though that's not what I was talking about. Yeah, this is very good. So let's kind of take a jump out and talk about what it is. So your first time going to Beam, what was your experience?
So it's going to be unfair to the listeners because we were able to get a VIP tour.
Okay.
And so while they will have a great experience, we had a phenomenal experience due to Ariel and her kind of giving us that VIP tour that, we knew her from something previously, completely unexpected. It was great. So there were some neat things that, I love. Again, I said earlier when we were talking about Boston, little history things. They still have some rick houses on the property there. And I forget the limit. I don't know if the threshold is like 7 floors or 8 floors.
I think it's like 6 or 7. It's like 6 or 7 floors, and these were 9, I think.
Right, because they had the fire at Heaven Hill,
right.
And part of that was
they were grandfathered in. They were already built. So since they've placed the limitations on the size or height of these rick houses, these were already there.
Yeah, and so it was neat to see some of those old rick houses, right?
Yeah.
Because people can't do that now. And they were in great shape. So that was really neat to see. I love that they took us through like the bottling line and we got to see that. And again, we were fortunate enough that we were able to kind of like bottle our own in a sense. And, Knob Creek does like the wax top on it. And they let us all put our thumbprint on top of the bottle, and we kind of initialed it so we know whose was whose.
Yeah.
And so that was really unique. And to this day, I haven't opened that one, even though I think
you haven't opened it?
It would stay in place, the wax on top.
Yeah, it did. Mine did.
But it's just kind of like, oh, this is just, I don't know why. It's just neat to me.
We should have brought that out here to talk about our experience here when we did the Knob Creek. We should have done that one. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, versus the other one. But it's fine. We can save it for another episode.
It was good.
I wouldn't know. I haven't opened mine.
I've opened it, and we tasted it. Remember, and then we decided whether or not we wanted it, and then they bottled it, but it was good. I enjoyed our bottling, if you will. I think the same thing for me. Our first trip there. Did we eat there the first time we went there?
We
did, right?
Did at the end. That's when we all got the hot honey pizza and ruined our palates.
It is. So there is a restaurant there called The Table, I think, or Kitchen Table maybe. But it is on site. It's an absolute outstanding restaurant. Lots of food. If you plan on drinking bourbon throughout the day afterwards, don't get the hot honey pizza. If you're done drinking bourbon for the day, that hot honey pizza was outstanding. It was so good. But what I will say about the restaurant is they had a lot of their bottles available for pours. Now, the bar in the actual distillery did as well. So you could go in there, do flights. You could do... I will say, of all the distilleries I've been to, I think they had the most allocated stuff available for tasting.
That's what I was going to say.
Any of the distilleries I've been to.
I love that they had so much of that because...
Like Wild Turkey has some, but never the stuff like the CNF or the CN, the
single rick house.
Single rick house or the 15 or whatever they'll have something, but they don't have all of them.
Yeah.
Whereas the Beam Distillery, I felt like when we went there, had pretty much everything you wanted, plus some dusty stuff that you would have never found anywhere.
When the price point on them, it wasn't insane.
No, and you could do a flight of like 3 things.
Yes.
And that was cool.
I remember being like, I wasn't like, fuck that, I'm not doing it. I was like, oh, wow, that's reasonably priced for what it is.
We all did because of that.
Yeah, I feel bad. I can't remember what I sampled right now.
Well, we did that on our second trip there, right?
Was that the okay? I
Because
think
our
that
first
was
trip
the
there,
second
we
trip.
didn't.
You're right.
We had that VIP tour. We went down into the basement of the Booker No Distillery portion.
That's right. And she set up a tasting for us. You're absolutely correct.
And then she let us have a bonus pour each, and we each individually got to pick what we wanted to taste.
Yeah.
Last year when we went to the bar upstairs and we started doing the flights. That was really good.
That's what I'm remembering. But you are 100% correct.
But no, I mean, but the distillery itself, the bottle shop, or the gift shop, if you will, had a lot of things available. One year we got a Baker's 13, which we're going to taste next. The next year we've got, I think I got a Booker's. I got a few things last year, and they had a lot of good stuff there.
Can I pause real quick because you just said Booker's, and we're talking about Jim Beam. I do love all the Booker releases. I may not love the juice in the bottle, but I love the story behind all of them.
You know what?
And they give you that little card, and we've done Booker's episodes before.
No, we have, and I love that you're mentioning that, because I think the thing about Booker's that is so amazing and so outstanding is, what is it about bourbon that attracted you to bourbon?
To me, it was just this camaraderie of friendship. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Is what it was.
But what else? I mean, I'm not diminishing that, because that is the number one reason why I stay in bourbon is that.
And there's nostalgia with stuff. Like, how many times have I said on here, like, oh, I remember here, and I remember here, and there's these nostalgic things, and like,
But then also, how much does this play a part in your love of bourbon? The story and the lore and the
history behind stuff?
it?
Absolutely. And the fact that it's like, and again, I'm not trying to be all like anti whatever, like supplements and shit, but like, I love that it's a natural product, like no additives,
right?
You know what I mean? And it's just
by law they're not allowed to.
And I do like that it is a natural product. I think that's great. You don't have someone adding some
caramel or something.
How many times you pick up something that's like artificial
Food
flavoring, artificial, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's just nice that it's not artificial.
No,
I guess.
And it can't be, and that's one of the things that by law it cannot have any additives to it. So that was my point. And I think the Booker releases lean into that.
Oh, all that history.
Every one of their releases has some sort of story, history, lore behind it of what inspired that particular batch. Whether it really did or it didn't, who knows. But the fact that you get this little card, you get a neat little souvenir box with the plexiglass front to it, and that little card that comes with the little story of how they came to that batch, or what that batch reminded them of, or whatever the marketing department came up with, fine. Whether it's a true story or not, to me, doesn't even matter.
The great thing too is those
it's just
stories.
a good story that's nostalgic and brings up memories.
When you go to a distillery, you always get their best stories. You know what I mean? Because that's what they're drawing you in. They got to sell you their best product.
They don't tell you that E.H. Taylor was a shyster and a terrible business person, and that he owed people money and was selling bourbon to person A, even though he had already sold it to person B, and then had to go bankrupt a couple times, leave the state until the statute of limitations expired, then come back and start a new distillery. They don't tell you that part at Buffalo Trace.
And I like that you get these like smaller stories that you probably wouldn't know otherwise with all of the Bookers. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I the little mini stories about the family
that you would never know.
No, but I think that's awesome, and I think that's great. And they could have probably written a book. And who knows? Maybe that's an idea. Maybe that's a thing they should sell in the
Book or No book.
The Book or No story. Like all those stories with more detail to them in the gift shop. They should do that. We just coined it. What are your takeaways on this Hardin's Creek?
It's delicious.
Right?
It's very, very good.
Very good, isn't it? And what I remember from this, between the Claremont and the Frankfurt, is that they're all very good, but for different reasons. And it's crazy because it's the same thing, same distillate, just going out to different locations and being aged in different locations.
I'm kind of sad I don't have one of these, to be truthful, because I like it so well.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's funny because one of these was sent to me, one of these I bought, and I don't have the third one, but I've tasted it a couple of times through Jason and other places. And I mean, I've loved them all.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, they're so good.
Like I said, and it's fun that I just went to Boston, so I like it even more because of that.
So what's funny about this, what I'm about to say, this episode releases tomorrow. And then at the same time, you'll have, I believe, tomorrow, which if you're listening today, we are also being interviewed on the Bourbon Road. So that episode should also be out tomorrow as well, or today, I should say. And myself and JD, I was traveling for work, and we did an interview remotely with them, and it was a fun interview. They dig into our podcast a little bit, talk about what inspired it, what the format and different things are. So if you get a chance, jump on over to the Bourbon Road and check that out after you're done listening to this, of course. All right, if you rated that Knob Creek, what would you rate that, you think?
I would probably say it's like a 3.6, 3.7.
Yeah,
it's a little hot for me.
Yeah.
It really is. I think for me, that's one of those ones where I would be very happy putting a large cube in it.
Yeah.
And sipping on that and letting
time with it.
Yeah. And I don't want the cube to melt too much, but just enough to take
a little bit of that edge off. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
For some reason, for me, a lot of those 120 Knob Creeks drink just a touch hot. And I have no problem with proof. Like Elijah Craig's drink hot.
But when you get a Knob Creek that doesn't, holy cow, you've hit the man, those are good.
Yeah.
I ask you that because what would you rate this Ardent Creek?
I think this is like 4.2. You know what I mean? This is great.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I'm like a 4.1, 4.2 as well. I'm right there with you. This is outstanding. This is everything I expect a bourbon to be.
Absolutely.
All right. So that brings us to Baker's 13. If you listen to the podcast back, I think 2 years ago, right? We did a bottle kill.
Oh, yeah.
It might have been last year, actually. No, it was just last year. Because that's when we stayed at the Woodford.
Yes.
Right? So we did a bottle kill of this last December. So if you listen back into the archives of last December, that would have been, I don't know, 50 episodes ago now. 50-some episodes ago. We would have killed a Baker's 13 that we bought on the trail, that I bought on the trail. And it was freaking outstanding. Do you have a glass?
We both have a glass up here.
I didn't see yours, so.
There you are, sir.
I'll pour mine, and then I'll hand it over to you. We opened this just tonight. So this is a fresh crack, but it's been sitting open for...
I'm sorry. What was that? It's a Hyman pour?
It's a Hyman pour. I was about to get to that.
Okay,
it's a fresh crack, but it's a Hyman pour. I have not opened this bottle since our trip. So this bottle I have had in my possession for 9 months, 10 months almost.
It's due.
It's just given birth. It's just given birth to some nice amber juice. This is 107 proof. So we've done the opposite of what we normally do.
Right, we've gone down in proof.
Right. So we went 120 to 10? And then now 107.
Yeah, it's 55% ABV, yes.
These Baker's 13s are single barrels. Now, the Knob Creek we did was a single barrel. The Hardin Creek was a batch. This is back to a single barrel again. This is 107 proof. I remember tasting this while we were in the gift shop, and I got 2 of these. You were only supposed to be able to get one, but someone didn't want one, so I had them get it for me. And then we killed it that night on the
You do that a lot, I've noticed, on the bourbon trip. Whenever there's something that's like an LTO, and because especially now that the group has grown, you usually are like, I can find something to buy on the trip for the kill, and you typically do something like that. Like we've done a 12-year
something, and then we buy something on the trip.
Yeah, we've done like the Lux 12 before on it that was a kill and several things. So
well, we also did the Poor Man's Pappy 2 years ago.
We did
with that was the one we gifted to Tyler for his birthday. But then we also did that year. We did Midwinter Night's Dram.
That's right. JD brought that
Sweet Wheat from Barton,
1792. Columbus Sailed.
But that was the day we had the hot honey pizza,
and it was terrible. We all were like,
well, the Pappy's was terrible.
Yeah,
and
our palate was burnt out.
It wasn't until we got to the Midwinter Night's Dram that it started coming back around again. That's when our palate. We were out there playing cornhole outside, and that's when our palates started coming back around.
That was a really, really fun trip.
It was.
I mean, and I'm not saying that
they've all been fun.
They've all
trips.
been fun. I know. I just remember like it was very just.
That was probably our best end of the night Friday.
And that's what I mean. And that's why like this year I was like, I would love to have some
I
time
love
where we
your
all
idea.
just
That's why
like
I planned it this year.
And it's like it's got like game rooms and stuff in it, and like just being able to like hang out and bullshit.
What do we have? I think we have a pool table this year. We've got a little bar.
I think there's a foosball table
there
too.
Might be
maybe
a foosball, but we're going to open it up to our listeners who are certain levels of our Patreon. We're trying to get some people, some guests within the industry to come and speak and possibly bring some stuff to drink. So far, we have been in talks with Peerless, John Waddell, to come and bring some stuff. We're reaching out to a couple other people to see if they might be interested in showing up. We had that plan last year, but I think because we were in wherever Versailles,
it was a little far away.
No one came.
Yeah, well, we're in Louisville this year, so it's like that's prime.
That's why I changed the order this year, is to hopefully get some of the industry people to actually show up.
There's actually a guy that it's through work, but it's through a vendor. I'm not going to name drop stuff on our podcast, but he lives in Louisville and he wants to come over. And I was like, dude, please. He lives like he could almost walk it, but it's like to that point where he's
we'll
like,
be in Nulu.
Yeah, he's like, I can
tell him to come up. Seriously.
No, I am. It's already like planned.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to be right beside the pizza taco place.
Agave and Rye. Yeah.
And it's
fucking
right across the street
tacos.
from Prohibition, the bar that is the Nulu Distillery, or New Louisville, if you like their larger releases that they do that are fancier. We're right across the street from them. So we'll have some options to like go out and get some tacos, and
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think this year might be our best location as a stay, and I'm hoping if all goes well, we keep doing the same place over and over and having the same format.
That'd be great.
Where people can come and hang out with us from our Patreon and do like a bottle share and stuff like that. So
I know we're segueing a little bit, but I love to network like that. I love to.
I'm going to take some of our barrel picks
organically
so
network and meet people and meet listeners, and it's one thing to like, I don't know, talk to people via messaging and stuff, but it's just another just to like, you know what I mean, engage in person and all of that. So I'm really looking forward to it.
We have 3 bottles of our Jack Daniels left. We have 4 bottles of our Elijah Craig left.
You could bring if they're
That's
left
what
at
I'm
the
going
time.
to do. No, I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to bring 2 of everything.
Okay.
So that people can get an idea as to what our palate is for our barrel picks. What I don't have is our Minix muffins. I have 1 bottle of that. I might have to just dip into my own, collection for that. Those sold so fast that I didn't get as many of those as I wanted to get.
I only bought 1, and I don't remember why, but I agree. Like, I'm like, damn it, why did I only buy 1?
You say that on every one of our picks.
Well, so here's the thing. It's because here's what always happens is my collection is growing so much. I'm like, I'm not enjoying the stuff that I have.
Yeah, I get you. But then when you get to it and you're like, fuck, I wish I had another bottle of this.
I know.
So, all right, let's talk about this Baker's 13.
So when I nosed it, it was like a fruit punch in the face.
Yeah.
It was like strawberry, just like fruit punch.
So that's what I kind of remember
like
about this
the drink
too.
fruit punch,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like
a punch to the face from fruit.
There you go.
No, I remember this being a little off profile from what we've just tasted.
For Beam, yeah, I agree.
But decently on profile for Baker's. But yes, I agree. This has a little bit of a fruity kind of.
I got all kinds of fruit on it, man.
It's dark fruit.
Yeah.
I get like, I don't know if it's plum, maybe a dark cherry, something, but there's like it's almost like a syrupy dark fruit. It's like if a dark fruit had been turned into some sort of a syrup. That's kind of the richness I'm getting of that dark fruit.
You ever been to like, is it IHOP that has like the maple syrups that are like,
and like the blueberry,
the strawberry maple syrup.
Yeah. So something like that
Yeah.
kind of, but dark fruit specific, like plum, stone fruit, cherry, something like that. To me, that's where it's kind of leaning. But I'm also getting some like some oak and tobacco, and that's probably the 13-year
Oh,
part
for
of it.
sure.
So it's interesting because I feel like that fruity stuff is generally stuff that's younger. So to get fruity stuff in a tobacco-y, oaky 13-year kind of a presentation, this is kind of a neat. What's the word when you get something you don't expect? Like it's a neat.
I was going to say unexpected.
Well,
It's like,
touche. Unexpected.
Surprise.
Yes. So no, but I was going to say it's almost like when things kind of fight each other. Like I don't know. We'll go with unexpected for now. I'll think of the word later. But yeah, this is like an unexpected surprise in a good way of
I just
two
took a
things
sip.
that you wouldn't expect to be together.
Yeah. I just took a sip, and the oak from that 13-year comes in.
Yeah.
But there's also, I don't want to describe it, a little bit of like a maple sweetness.
Maple. I'm getting maple.
There's like a maple sweetness with the oak that comes into it, and it's very enjoyable, especially with this being a fresh crack.
pour?
Fresh crack.
Hyman
Being
pour?
a fresh crack, new pour, whatever.
It's a pour from the Hyman.
There's hymen coming all the way through the palate. The hymen
The
front
Hyman's
to the
coming
back.
everywhere. I don't know what's going on.
Very, very enjoyable. Like, this is by far the best thing I've had tonight.
Really? Better than the Hardins Creek?
I think it is.
Okay.
I do. And
I mean, I
didn't expect that, to be truthful.
I'm not diminishing this in any way, shape, or form. This is very good. I'm a little surprised you think it's better than the Hardins Creek, but I can see that being the...
I've been into tannins lately.
No. Fucking tannins.
I've been into tannins lately. I don't know what it is.
That was a callback to How I Met Your Mother.
We were
just talking about
yeah,
earlier.
you're... I totally glossed right over my head.
I've gotten back into How I Met Your Mother, and there was an episode where Lily and Marshall are staying home doing couples things with other couples, and they're doing a wine and cheese night. Everyone else is at the bar, or at the club, actually, not the bar. And Marshall is upset because he wants to still, even though he's getting married and he's engaged and all that stuff and he's settling down, he still wants to be able to go do those fun things. So they're trying to get drunk at this wine and cheese thing, but everyone's like, no, you can't. You got to let the red wine breathe for a half hour before you can drink it, and let the tannins, whatever. And Marshall goes, damn tannins, and then like 5 minutes later, he's leaving. He's escaping out of his own apartment to go to the club, and then Lily, about 20 minutes later, realizes he's gone. And she leaves her apartment too. So now there's no one in their apartment that lives there. It's only the guests still having a wine and cheese night. And before she leaves, she's like, damn tannins. So I just thought that was funny. So good. And we had a conversation about that before the podcast. So he just unwittingly made a callback to something we were just talking about. No, you're right. This has some tannins to it. This has... that oaky, it's not over drying, which is perfect. It's that perfect balance of tannins, but not being overly dry.
Mm-hmm.
But that fruit still kind of is there.
It's still there. I agree.
Yeah. This is good. I was going to say this was different but equal, in my opinion, to the Hardins Creek. I was going to give it about the same rating.
I'm like 1 point higher.
And that's fine. No, I mean, listen, we're all
Tenth
different.
of a point.
We're all different.
Not like a tool. Yeah.
What's interesting to me is, what do you think of when you think of Jim Beam?
Just like the Shelfer Jim Beam, like the white label
Just
Jim Beam.
When you hear Jim Beam, that's what you think.
Yeah, the
of,
white
right?
label Jim Beam.
You think of college. You think of first foray into bourbon, even though you don't really probably even think of it as bourbon. You just think of it as a shooter, or maybe mixing it with Coke, or whatever. Right? It was Jack and Jim, right?
It's funny because
Jack and Jim.
I went to school in Kentucky. I've said this so many times, and in my fraternity, if you ever bought Jack Daniels, you were
right, because it was Tennessee whiskey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they were like, we drink Jim Beam here. We don't drink that Jack Daniels bullshit, right? But it was always the classic, like, white label, plastic cap, you know.
Right. No, I mean, I agree 100%. And that's what's interesting is you think of Jim Beam, you don't think about these other off labels that they do And granted, yes, we've been inundated with them over the last 5 years since bourbon became a little more popular during COVID and stuff like that. All these LTOs, Hardins Creek, all these, whatever. Yes, that has been amplified over the last 5 years. But these other things were there. I mean, Old Tub came out, the re-release of Old Tub came out during the COVID era, if you will. Hardins Creek came out during the COVID era. Baker's 13 came out during the COVID era. But Knob Creek has been around.
Oh, for a long time.
Old Granddad 114 kind of had a renaissance, I guess, again during COVID. But like these things have been around for a minute. These other releases that Beam has been doing. But when you think of Beam, you think of white label. You think of college. You think of
There's like a higher end black label Jim Beam, but it's like nothing special.
No, but
there's the Devil's Cut,
right? And what's funny is when I go to Bourbon and Beyond, I'll be there this coming weekend. In the media tent last year, they had Jim Beam Black Label, and I was actually pleasantly surprised. I'd never had it before.
It's been a long time.
It was good. I was like, okay. I was sitting there drinking it neat, and it was like 95, 98 degrees out that weekend, and I'm sitting there drinking it, and I'm like, okay. I mean, it was good. I was not upset about it. I was like, what the fuck? All they've got back here at Bourbon and Beyond at the media section is Jim Beam.
Black Label, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll take some Jim Beam. And I was pleasantly surprised. But again, that goes to show, like, you get these ideas in your head, Jim Beam, white label, college, shooters, Jim and Coke, whatever. And, it's interesting to me. That's all. That they have, that their catalog is so much richer than just that. Jack Daniels is, well, I mean, to be honest, Jack Daniels doesn't really have a lot in their catalog other than Jack Daniels and then some of their special releases like Sinatra, I think F1 or whatever they call it, and then McLaren.
So back in the day, I did think that the Gentleman Jack was good. I haven't had it for...
I forgot about Gentleman Jack.
I mean, God, I'm getting old. I could easily say 15 years since I've had Gentleman Jack. I know it's been... I've been up here in Columbus over 10 years. I've been here 11 years now, and I haven't had it since I've been here, so I feel like it's been 12 to 15 years since I've had Gentleman Jack. But I remember being good, and I didn't even know a lot about bourbon back then or whiskeys. I knew that, like, oh, I like this, I don't like this, and I don't know why. Excuse me, but yeah, I thought that was a good one too.
No, that's interesting. I forgot about Gentleman Jack, but Jack doesn't have a lot of brands, in my opinion. Whereas Beam, we talked about some of them. We talked about Booker's. We talked about all these others, and they have a ton of different brands if you think about it. And Jack has, like, they have their rye, they have their barrel proof, they have their signature select, they have their Sinatra, they have their McLaren or whatever, but they're all technically Jack.
Right.
So it's interesting. The approaches that different distilleries take, and that just kind of is interesting to me. But I will say this from a takeaway perspective, as a distillery, it wasn't until 2 years ago that we went to Jim Beam. And this was our 6th year on the trip, so it wasn't until years 5 and 6. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, we didn't go to Beam. It took us 5 years to go to Beam on our Bourbon Blitz trip. I feel like that was a mistake. Like, I never even thought about going to Beam, right? Yeah. And then when we finally did it, it was such a surprisingly nice place to go to.
The campus is beautiful.
It is, and it's the facilities there, the gift shop, the restaurant, everything there is great. There's nothing bad about going there. The tour was outstanding. We did the VIP tour, but I think the regular tour is similar. But, like, I don't know why we didn't go there for 4 years.
There's just so much to see. Is probably why.
But, like, it's one of the big names in distilling.
Agreed.
Like, why wouldn't we have gone there?
Don't pass it up.
Right. Don't pass it up. That's what I was about to say. Is I think because it's named Jim Beam, that might be a reason why you pass it up. Because if you're really into bourbon and all that stuff, you hear Jim Beam and you think, white label. But then you forget about all the things that go along with that, like all the other releases, Booker's and Baker's
Hardin's
and
Creek,
Hardin's
yeah.
Creek and Knob Creek and all those things. And that's what I mean. Like, don't pass it up. There's so much there that it has to offer. The gift shop was good. The tour was good. The restaurant was good. It's just a great visit. And it's a great brand as a whole. I mean, they just have so many offerings. So, all right. Any closing thoughts, Brett?
I think I've said everything that I wanted to say. I was really happy with how this episode went.
Yeah. So your rating was Baker's, then Hardin's, then Knob?
Knob was last place, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Then Hardin, then Baker's.
Okay, so Baker's was your best. Mm-hmm. Like a 4.3-ish,
Yeah.
and then 4.2-ish for the Hardin's.
Yes.
And then Knob Creek.
Yes.
I'm going to be right there with you. I think I'm splitting hairs with Knob Creek with Hardin's Creek and with Baker's.
It can change day to day, too, for real.
Well, but I mean, they're both outstanding for different reasons. I think the tannins are more on display in the Baker's 13. I think the Hardin's Creek is just rich. It's just a flavor bomb. So depending on what you're looking for, that dark fruit tannins of the Baker's 13, the flavor bomb of the Hardin's Creek, I think depending on what you're in the mood for is going to determine, I kind of think of Hardin's Creek as like almost like a hearty meal. Like you go to like a Der Dutchman or, like a, some sort of place where they've got the chicken and meat and potatoes and stuff.
Okay.
And then you've got your Baker's as more of like a fancy meal.
Okay.
That's kind of how I'm analogous to, the meal.
I'm down there. I'm
perspective. So that's kind of how I see these two breaking down, in my opinion. If you're up for more of a hearty bourbon, Hardin's Creek. If you're up for more of like a fancier bourbon, Baker's 13 maybe, because it's a little more delicate, a little bit more, I guess there's a little bit more, like with the tannins and stuff like that, I feel like it's a little more akin to, say, like a wine-ish type of flavor profile. But I don't think you can go wrong with any of these, to be honest. These were all good. I know it was a big jump from the Knob Creek to the Hardin's Creek to the Baker's, but 3.5, 3.6 is what we gave the Knob Creek. That's still good.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but yeah, I think fun episode. Good idea. We got this idea from one of our Patreon members who said break down a distillery, pick some of our favorite offerings from that distillery, and just kind of talk about it. So thank you for the suggestion. And we
can do this with other distilleries as well.
And we plan to. But thank you for the suggestion. We do listen to those, so hopefully this was proof of that. We also did a food on the trail episode. That was a recommendation from the Patreon as well. So send us recommendations. Send us episode ideas. Send us tasting ideas, blinding ideas, stuff like that. info@bourbonhunters.com, or join our Patreon. Talk to us on there. We have some pretty good conversations going on there. But thank you for listening, and join us next week for who knows what.
All right. Well, that wraps up this episode. Thank you for joining in on yet another hunt for great bourbon. Please give us a 5-star review anywhere you are listening. But if you don't, leave us some constructive criticism in the review so that we can better improve our show. But until then, sit back, grab a pour, kick up your feet, and enjoy some bourbon.
Tune in each week. Sit back. Tune in each week. Grab a pour. Tune in each week. Kick up your feet and enjoy. Kick up your feet and enjoy.
The Bourbon Hunters podcast has been craft distilled, produced, recorded, and edited by Dude Pool. For any feedback, questions, or episode ideas, please reach out to info@bourbonhunters.com.